be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the UK's got a bigger problem than anyone.
Yeah,
it just seems a bit chaotic at the moment.
Challenging. I think it's we're live on Facebook at the moment as well. So
okay.
I think we've got our people coming into our room. It's 7:02 already.
Wow.
So just to close off that topic, but I think a lot of the countries are facing. Yep, we're unmuted now. Everyone's muted.
Good. I wish I had that switch for a lot of people. Sorry, don't want to hear that. Boop.
Yeah.
And for the dog too at times.
Touching the button. I had Leo today, our cat. I was doing Zoom meetings and Leo was just meowing came up on my lap. So I've got this big cat, fluffy cat on my lap going, okay, we'll just do the meeting together. But we'll kick off.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody. I'll start off with English. Welcome to our IELTS General Training Writing Part 2. So it's Task 2. The new name is Part 2. Welcome back to those people that have been with us and welcome to the newcomers. So I know our expert here, Roz, she's got a fantastic PowerPoint. Roz, you've got the annotation up again. Have you disabled the annotation? Just to remind you.
I have. Yeah.
So what you learned tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you can actually use these skills in academic writing. Actually, you can use it in general English that you're learning anyway in classes, and just it's an essay format, right, Roz?
Absolutely. And so you can use this in life, exams, everything.
Beauty. So we've got a few slides coming up here. Take some photos. You can take photos. Feel free. Don't switch off your cameras as usual. That's safe on the bandwidth. And we're going to keep you muted. So you got questions? Ask us questions about what we're showing you tonight, if you can, because at the end, I'm going to tell you, we've got a couple more sessions coming up. So tonight, try and focus on the questions, what Roz is delivering. I think that will help us in responding. And Roz is a fantastic expert. So let's take as much as we can from Roz's knowledge and experience.
Good luck there.
Thanks, Roz.
Oh, thank you for the kind words, Sival.
So, and switching in Turkish. Hoş geldiniz arkadaşlar. Bizimle birinci eğitimimizden beri birlikte olduğumuz için tekrar hoş geldiniz. Yeni katılımcılarımız da var bu akşam. Sizlere de hoş geldin diyoruz. Umarım bu akşamki eğitimimizde burada General Writing Part 2 yani Task 2 olarak çalışmamıza devam ettireceğiz. IELTS uzmanımız Roz. Kendisi bizlere zaten PowerPoint slaytları hazırladı sağ olsun. Fotoğraf çekebilirsiniz. Rahatlıkla fotoğraflarınızı çekin. Kaçırırsanız hiç üzülmeyin. Sonunda tekrar geçiyoruz zaten fotoğraf çekmeniz için. Sorularınızı chat kutusu var. Bu akşamki sorularımızı mümkünse bu Writing Part 2 ya da Task 2 çünkü akademik writing'e çok yakındır aslında. Bunun üzerine soru soralım. Bizim uzmanımız zaten çok deneyimli, çok bilgili bir uzmanımız Roz. Bu Mayıs ayında da bunca eğitimli, bu akşam 10. eğitimimiz. Mayıs ayın sonuna kadar da yaklaşıyoruz artık. Haziran ayında da artık herhalde azaltmalar yapacağız ya da hepimiz tatile çıkacağız diyeyim sizlere. Onun haricinde seslerimizi zaten arkadaşlarımız kısıyor. Teşekkür ederim. Harika bir ekibimiz var. Sağ olun arkadaşlar. Kameralarımızı açmamaya çalışalım. İnternetimiz her zamanki gibi kopmamasını sağlamak adına. Facebook Live'ımızda da bizi izleyenler varsa hoş geldiniz. İyi seyirler, iyi eğitimler diliyorum. Sonunda da tekrar sizlerle görüşmek üzere. Rose, it's all yours. Let's kick off. How was your day in Ege?
Oh, absolutely fine, except it's been really blowing a lot today. It was very, very windy and a hot, dry wind. And you had to, like, wasn't a day for wearing a dress, I can assure you of that.
With the wind.
Yeah. I've been caught so many times with it sort of up around my ears, so I never wear a dress in the wind. And, you know, usual Tuesday, I went off to the farmers markets and did my shopping, and then I've been just doing some work, blah, blah, blah, you know, same old, same old. And welcome to everyone. Good to have everyone back again. And what about you, Sival? How was your day?
My background is my Ankara office, but I'm not in Ankara. I can't travel, obviously, but I just thought I'll pop that picture up in my background so I can look like I'm quite comfortable. My day was absolutely productive. I started meetings at 8:30 sharp, and they were all half an hour, short snippets, but very productive. And I completed all these meetings by 2:30 p.m. The weather is beautiful in Istanbul. And I'm extremely excited because my daughter will get to go outside for 4 hours tomorrow. So she's getting closer to her freedom. And I think that it makes me happy as a mother because I've been working from home to be with my daughter. So I'm on a different adrenaline today. So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I bet she's overjoyed about being allowed out.
She's that happy she's washing dishes at the moment.
Poor child. Get a dishwasher.
No, it was self-inflicted. I've got one. It was self-inflicted. She opted for it. So
I guess we all understand now what animals feel like in zoos, don't we?
Yeah,
constantly locked up. Yeah.
We've got 4 days coming up for us, so I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I still don't know if it is in the Ege region or not. So I guess I'll find out on the weekend.
A lot of the viewers were wondering if Izmir or Bodrum, where does Roz live? I think we'll leave that question mark for people.
Have a guess. Have a guess. Yeah. So general training writing part 2. Well, let's have a little bit of a chat, Saval, first about the general. Why would you take a general training exam?
Okay. So basically, the general IELTS is mainly taken for immigration purposes, Roz. When people want to migrate to a new country. So, and the most popular would be Canada and Australia as taking migrants in. So that's the main reason general training is taken. And another main reason that's been a growing trend in Turkey is for employment.
Yes.
We call it a dil tazminatı. So it's for the English level. Some employers actually increase the salary brackets.
I've heard that.
If they reach a certain score. So 2 main reasons, migration and employment. That's the general training.
Okay. So when we start looking at the writing part too, the main things that I want to let you know is that the academic and general IELTS writing part 2 are both essays. And exactly the same criteria is used to mark and assess both. There's no difference. Then we've got the main difference is that the essays in academic writing should be more academically structured, whereas with the general, you're presented with an argument, problem, or a point of view, and the topics are more general in nature. So they are the main differences.
Roz, would you say, I just want to jump in here because I get questions as a centre-based person. Is general easier? Is the question we get, but what we know of general is it's more everyday language, everyday English. Is that what you would say as well as an expert?
Of course. And that's the whole idea of, like if they wanted everyone to do academic, there wouldn't be a general, would there? So there has to be that difference in what sort of language is expected, but you still have to remember that it's assessed using the same descriptors.
Okay.
So whichever essay you write, academic or general, you still have to do a good job of it. Yeah.
So should we get the band descriptors link up now from our team?
Yes, because next we're going to start looking at what you are actually assessed on.
Okay, fantastic. So in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen, you copy that link and open up a browser, please, because unfortunately we can't click on it anymore.
And if you can't answer the browser, I've sort of, put up the main points here anyway. So if we're looking at task response, we've got the natural thing of answering the given question in the topic and presenting your main ideas clearly. Also supporting those main ideas with relevant and developed focus on the topic. And of course, staying on the given topic. Don't go off topic. Don't go rattling on and on and on and on and on. Stay on the topic, be clear and concise. The next one is coherence and cohesion. Now, coherence is how it's all put together. All right. So does it flow logically? And the cohesion has to do with, are you using the proper linking words, etc., to link all your ideas together? So with this, you have to present the information logically. Please, please avoid repetition. And this comes into your planning. If you plan well, I've said it for the academic, but it goes for any sort of writing that you do. If you plan well, you don't repeat yourself. Use suitable cohesive devices and do not over or underuse them. Sort of get that happy balance where you've just got enough, but not too much and not too many. Present the clear main idea within each paragraph and use supporting details. And main idea too is to progress to a logical conclusion. Next up, we have lexical resource. This means that you use a wide range of vocabulary. You use correct collocations and spelling. You understand the usage of verbs, nouns, adjectives, etc., etc. And last, grammatical range and accuracy. You must be able to have the skill of producing error-free sentences. And you also have to be able to use a wide range of structures, simple, complex, noun phrases. You know, we have so many structures in English, so many structures. So depending on what band you require for your purpose, try and make sure that you've got the correct structures and practice them. And don't forget good old punctuation. It's very, very useful and it's very, very necessary in writing. And also we use it in speaking. We pause when we're speaking, whereas in writing, we put a comma in. All right, so next up, I've leave that up there for a second. Next up, we're going to be looking at a little snippet of a paragraph that I did today. And it's concerning this topic. Using a computer every day can have more negative than positive effects on young children. Do you agree or disagree? Now, this is a typical general training IELTS Part 2 question. Quite simple. You know, you notice if you look at the academic questions, they're a little bit more involved. Now, if you turn a topic into a question, it often makes it easier to answer. So turning this topic into a question, are young children affected in a negative or positive way from using a computer daily? Then I would look at, I've written this paragraph, all right? And I want you to look at some basic words that I've used, and then I'm going to give you the alternatives about which ones you should be practicing and using.
So can I pause you there, Ros?
Hey?
Can I pause and ask you, when the test taker gets the statement, the task, and the first thing they should do is try and convert that into a question? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a useful way of answering, you know, and understanding it yourself. If you're converting it, that means that you're understanding it and you're asking yourself that question. Yep. Okay, so I've done this paragraph. Kids today use all types of things to stay happy, and things like computers are popular. I think kids should learn to use a computer, but only use them to play games 2 hours a day. Many parents think that kids are made violent from playing games on computers, but I don't think so. Games are fun for kids, and they can meet lots of other kids too. Also, they can do lots of other things too, like homeworks and look up stuff online.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, thanks, Saval.
This piece of writing here that you've got, what's that range between with the schools? Would you know?
Oh,
why am I asking? I'm asking is, and this is in all honesty, The language you use, because you're going to show us, I believe, the same one, but with different words in the green areas.
Well, what I'm going to do is tell you which words to replace these with.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Excuse me. So, you know, like, well, I'm looking at the public band descriptors now. Look, it'd have to be around a 4.5.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You know, it's because it's not really giving much information there. And like, this is just a small part. But yeah, from what I've written here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that something so simply written, simple to understand, will give me about a 4.5. So if I'm aiming for a 6 or a 6.5, it wouldn't be that much more difficult. That's the angle I was coming from.
Okay. So, yeah, but, you know, it would also depend how the rest of the essay developed too.
Sure.
So what I've done now is I've given some synonyms that, look, please don't use kids. You know, I don't know if everyone knows that a kid is actually a baby goat. And yeah, and I've said this before with the academic, you know, okay, it's a very informal word that we use for children, but this is an essay, and I'd try and use children, toddlers, you know, because they toddle around. That's the way to remember it. Under 8 years old, because this topic is about young children. So generally up to age 8 is what's classified as a young child. And then we've got under 8 years old, small children, and also minors. Things. Oh, I hate this. Things. Look, I've repeated it way too much here too. There's so many other words that I could have put in. I could have put devices, pieces of technology, games, educational toys and puzzles, outdoor activities, participate in, pastimes, recreation, etc., etc., etc. So please, people, try not to say things in your essays. Now, with the number 2, write it as a word, please, in an essay, because we generally do write it as a word. You're laughing there, Savelle.
Oh, this is something that comes out of me every day when I see a piece of writing from, you know, it could be anyone. It could be an email. I see the numeral written. I'm like, oh, no, that's not right. Just write the word. I agree.
Exactly. Okay, it's different if you're doing a financial document. Of course, you can write, you know, the numerals, but please do write the word in any sort of writing. Now, this shocking comment that I've made, kids are made violent. I would prefer if you could sort of say something along the lines of small children may be influenced by computer games and try to act out in real life the violence that they view in games. Now, if you've got the ability to write that, you're going to be well above, you know, a 4 or a 4.5 there. So, you know, you would be using complex structures, linkers, etc. So, and also collocations, you know, be influenced, act out their collocations. Next one, please do not use contractions. Write the full words. Do not. So in any essay that you do, we use contractions for speaking, not for writing, especially when it's for this sort of purpose.
And it's counted as?
2 words. Yeah. Because when you break it down, it's 2 words.
Yes, very important in the IELTS test.
Yes. Meet lots of other kids. Again, basic. Children have the opportunity to interact with others of the same age from all cultures throughout the world, which sounds a lot better. Homework. I don't know the amount of times I've seen and heard people say, I've got lots of homeworks tonight. And I think, Who taught you to say that? Like homework is an uncountable noun. Please, people, forget the S for once and for all out of your vocabulary. Please never, ever, ever use it. It's homework. That's it. You don't need to, you cannot say homeworks. Look up stuff. This is something I might say to a friend, oh, I need to look up some stuff in a very, very, very informal, atmosphere. But for writing, again, you would say research topic, investigate their interest, discover facts. Oops, I'll just go back to that one. Leave it up for a bit. Okay, so that's how you should be able to take your basic writing and make it so much better with learning synonyms. And if everyone's been following me for the last 10 webinars, you will know that I've got a real thing for synonyms because they're just so useful in writing. It stops the repetition. You feel better about yourself because you're using different words all the time, and they're extremely useful to learn.
Totally agree. They're lifesavers is what I say.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I even learn new synonyms myself every day.
Same.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Never stop learning.
Online, synonyms.com, bang, bingo, or, synonyms, whatever it is.
Yeah, because sometimes, I don't know if it happens to you, Saval, but sometimes my brain just shuts down. It doesn't want to work. And I just think, oh, I know the word, but I just can't think of it, And you don't want to use the same word over and over again because it's just boring and repetitious. So, yeah, and I love the fact that I always say, I'll never stop learning until the day I die. I never want to be able to say, I know everything. I don't think anyone knows everything.
You're right. And also what I do, what I practice, or what I've also taught in the past, if you're using synonyms, ladies and gentlemen, use the website, get the synonym, get the word in replacement of that so we don't repeat it. But then I say, just Google it to see how to use it in a sentence, because that can be a bit of a pitfall for us. A synonym, but not using the correct context in the sentence. So
yes,
I also add that on, and it really helps me. Even now, as a native, it's like you said, we're still learning. We'll keep learning.
Absolutely.
There's no questions, Ross, so you can keep going.
Is everyone asleep, or are they just sort of like being quiet today?
I think they're just absorbing.
Okay. So these are some of the things I want you to think about when you're planning your essay. The points, I should say. See? Things, points. Turn the essay topic into a question. It does help. Write down synonyms. Also, think of the tense that you will write in. Sometimes if you're not a high band level writer, it helps to sort of put a little quick note up the top of your plan. Okay, I want to write this in past and present tense, or past, present and future tense. Please remind yourself which tense you're going to work in. Brainstorm main ideas and supporting details. Again, spend 5 to 6 minutes if need be on brainstorming main ideas and supporting details. I can't stress enough how important it is to have clear main ideas and supporting details already planned before you write. If you don't have these, you will find that you're stuck and you won't finish your writing, and it will be of poor quality. Don't forget to give your position on the topic. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you sitting on the fence? Are you 50-50? It's your choice, but make a choice. If you've never thought about the topic, pretend you know something about it, and take a stand. Do you agree? Do you not? Equal, whatever. And please, again, use examples from your own experience. Completely acceptable and also asked for in most of the IELTS topics, or all of the IELTS topics, I should say. And I also advise that you check each paragraph. As you finish that paragraph, quickly go back, check it for spelling, punctuation, and make sure the last sentence is running on to your next idea in your first sentence of your second paragraph or your third paragraph. Goes
so you're
down.
Connecting is what
Yes.
you mean.
Yeah. And that means it's got a logical flow. You know, it's going dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Think of it like a set of steps. Ensure that the introduction to the topic is in your own words. Never, ever copy and paste any of the topic that's written for you. You must put it into your own words. And don't forget, conclude the essay in a suitable way as well. Use suitable linkers throughout the essay, and I've got some at the end of this presentation, just a few that I've put up. You can practice with them, research them, do whatever you like. And as I've just showed you in the previous example, that was basic vocabulary. I want you to strive to use more appropriate vocabulary in your writings. And that way you do the test, you feel good about it, and you walk out of there happy. And the last point is to use the appropriate number of paragraphs. Now, we've discussed this with the academic. People say, how many paragraphs should I write? Listen, you know, how long's a piece of string? But generally, you will have time to write the introduction, 2 or 3 body paragraphs, and then a concluding paragraph. Some people will only write 2 body paragraphs. Some will write 3. It's totally up to you. If you've got some good main topics, you can write more.
Yeah. So we've got a question from one of our viewers, Rose.
Yes.
It's a very good question. I actually don't know the answer myself.
Or maybe I don't either.
Should we use as many different tenses to get a better point for grammatical accuracy? For example, if I'm aiming for a 7, am I able to get to the 7 with just using simple present and simple past tenses? Do you know that?
Well, I would definitely advise them not to just, you know, keep using the simple structures and simple tenses. The more, you know, like if you can use present perfect continuous and past continuous and past perfect and, you know, future continuous, you know, like you're going to get higher marks for more complex structures with your grammatical usage. So please do use a range of tenses, past, present, future, and in all the ways that you know.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't know that response, so
okay,
makes sense though.
Yes. Okay, now we're going on to the next one. We've done an essay plan. I should say me and the dog, probably.
Yoga.
Yeah, and I've actually got a street cat sitting on the chair beside me at the moment too, who's sort of becoming a house cat rather quickly. Okay, now the topic is some parents buy their children a large number of toys to play with. What are the advantages and disadvantages for the child of having a large number of toys? What do you think about this topic?
Lots of money. That's money wasting.
Look, I've seen some shocking examples of just, you know, like I've walked into some people's homes and I've thought it was a toy shop. I honestly thought it was a toy shop. When I lived in Australia, I actually had 3 stepchildren. Okay. And the first year I was with them, I took them shopping for Christmas. And I said, choose whatever you like in the toy shop, you know, we're going to get it all. Took them all home. They were happy as anything, you know, thinking, oh, I'm a wonderful woman. Got them home, said, right, wrap them all up. They wrapped them all up. And then I told them, right, put them in the car. And you should have seen their faces drop. I said, no, put them in the car. What I did, we took them up to the local children's hospital. And we gave it to all the sick kids in hospital, all the toys. And, you know, these long faces just turned in happy faces. And the kids actually kept, you know, pestering me every year to make it a tradition. And we did it every year. So I think it's a lot better if kids can share the joy of toys instead of, it's mine and I'm not giving it up. Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. What a great gesture, giving.
Yeah, and just to see, you know, like the looks on those kids' faces in hospital was just worth millions, absolute millions.
Priceless. Wow.
Yes. All right, so as I've said before, you can turn that into a question. I've just got up synonyms up here. So for example, if I wanted to turn that into a question, I could say, is it more of an advantage or a disadvantage for children to have a large number of toys? That's how I'd simply turn it into a question. So for synonyms for children, I've got offspring, and for large number of toys, I've got excessive amount. Or you could say amounts of. Now, the words and collocations that I've got up here in bold are the main topics that I would use. The lowercase is the supporting detail that I would back up those main ideas. So my advantages that I thought about, okay, they can amuse themselves, and then I would support that by saying they can learn to play alone, they, on a discovery trip, they can discover things by themselves, etc., etc., etc. And then that leads me into, it also develops their motor skills. So they learn to recognize colors, and their hand-eye coordination is actually improved because they're having to put, sort of like with puzzles, they're having to put pieces into a particular shape. So that improves their motor skills. And of course, with educational puzzles, talking books, they're also considered toys. They can learn alphabets, numbers, they can learn to listen, they can learn to repeat. There's so many things that they can do. Disadvantages that I thought of. Sometimes these toys made in some countries are from dangerous materials. And some of them actually have a very peculiar smell to them. Yeah. Remember those, I won't mention what they were.
Little round things you're going to talk about.
So this can lead to poisoning if the kids ingest them. Excuse me. So ingesting means to take something that they shouldn't down into their stomach. So the first act of that is to swallow. So you swallow something like that. Also, kids love putting little toys in little places. So they can shove it up their nose and they can put them in their ears, and then it's a trip to the hospital for mum and dad. The next disadvantage that I thought of would be that the children actually have less contact with parents or others if they've got massive amounts of toys and they're just stuck in a room with those toys. So a child can become shy, antisocial, they can lack speaking skills, they can lack concentration, and they're also very distracted by the number of toys, and they can become more demanding. So they have a spoilt, a must-have attitude, and they can also throw tantrums if they don't get their own way. Do you have anything to add? Like, I don't have children, Saval. You do. So this is just from my observations.
Spot on, because as you're going through them, I was actually thinking, did I go through it? Did my daughter? So I've got a daughter, 12 years old now. She had lots of toys because lots of gifts were given to her. I'm lucky. I'm one of those lucky parents that I didn't actually, witness most of the disadvantages. So being a dangerous materials, or I agree with the little contact with, not with parents. I think it's more or less. I mean, it's more or less friends at school as well that can become a bit more reluctant to socialize.
Yes.
Demanding I never had. So Ezgi's been brilliant. I'm very lucky with that. But I totally agree with your advantages. There's lots of good things about having the toys, because different sorts of toys.
And I'm sure there's more, but this is enough for me to write an essay.
How many words are we looking at for part 2, Rolf?
250.
Okay, just to keep in mind.
Now, well, going too quick again, the fingers, I'm trigger it. So these are my thoughts, and how I would sort of, you know, how would I say, you know, sort of like configure this essay. I would say that, you know, like it should be balanced, not too many, not, you know, sort of no toys. And kids love to play with things from around the home. I've seen kids amuse themselves for hours with pots and spoons and cups and water and mud. I used to make mud pies in the garden, and, you know, I had ant farms, but, you know, I'm Australian, so we handle bugs and insects, don't we?
We surely do.
Yeah, you don't sort of see Turkish children handling insects and bugs and all the creepy crawlies, but we do as kids.
It's not the norm.
No.
But I just want to add, sorry, you've just bringing back some memories for me. My daughter in the kitchen, she had her own cupboard. So I emptied out a
great idea.
Shelves and put in the plastic pots and pans that make noise. She could make music out of it. So
yeah,
well entertaining.
So this is something that if you were writing this essay, Saval, you could say, for example, from my own experience, my daughter, you know,
so
with
I
my
can
daughter,
add that in. Can I add?
Of course, your own experience, and say, you know, I actually gave her her own cupboard in the kitchen and blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. That's wonderful, because then it relates that you've understood the topic and, you know, you're putting your interaction into it. Also, I think encourage other activities as well. More social interaction I would want to encourage. And also, at the same time, quiet times playing alone are beneficial for kids, because they learn to be on their own and amuse themselves instead of being demanding, you know, mum, dad, you know, sort of like you don't have to have them glued to you 24 hours a day. Now, these are some of my observations from real life. Some children place no value on possessions. They think it's their right to have everything, and therefore they become spoilt and they become selfish. They don't learn to share. And I think they should learn to share, give away their toys when they've used them for maybe 6 months, or, you know, the parents could have, right, let's have a tidy up and give all these away to somewhere like I did, the local hospital, or some of the leukemia, you know, foundations, charities. There's so many places out there, and spend short times playing alone. But for me, one of the biggest things is it also depends on the parent's attitude too. Sometimes parents are buying their children's affection with the number of toys that they give them.
Or I can add, if the parents are, you know, especially these days, it can become a lot more risky in a sense of, because we're working from home, most of us. And if the parent wants that peace and quiet, focus time for their work, they'll just say, here, have that toy, entertain yourself.
Yep.
So I totally agree with that parent attitude. But I think just going back to the basics is what you said in your previous slide. It's a balance, to keep a balance.
It is.
Of everything. We've got a burning question from one of our viewers, Sonay. Can we use phrasal verbs in task 2?
Phrasal verbs. Well, we really use phrasal verbs in speaking, you know, so try and research your phrasal verbs that you do want to use. If they're suitable for writing, by all means use them, but just be careful about which ones you do use. There's a few that you can, but be careful. There's so many other collocations that you can use besides phrasal verbs, because we use them more for speaking. It's all said and done.
I've got a couple more questions, but I want to see what you've got coming up, because you might answer them in your next slide. So
okay, well, I've just got a slide about linking your ideas. This is the last one, by the way.
Okay, that's good. I'll ask you the questions at the end. Yep.
Okay, so these are just some thoughts about linking your ideas and expressions. So you can read through these yourself. I'll
take photos.
Yep, take photos. Try using them. I didn't put them into all the categories of, you know, when do you use them and that. Please research them yourself. That way you will learn about them. If I keep, you know, drop feeding you, oh, you use it there and you use it there, you don't learn. Whereas when you have to investigate it yourself, you actually learn more.
And you practice with it. I agree with your style. So practice makes perfect.
And improving your skills, I would suggest that you practice planning and writing essays by looking online at IELTS practice materials. Read daily. People don't read anymore. And really, come on, you've got to read and expand your knowledge and take the blinkers off, you know, and boom, open your eyes and look to the side and smell the flowers. You've got to do it. So articles that interest you, you'll also learn a lot. It doesn't also always have to be essays. Read things you like to read. And of course, keep up with the news so that if you get a topic that's topical at the moment, for example, coronavirus, look at all the language we've all learned in the last, 3 months or so. Ooh. Social distancing, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. So many people didn't have a clue what social distancing was. And I'm sure there's even new words that will be added to the dictionary because of this pandemic. People didn't know what a pandemic, had no idea. But now they do.
I find, just to add here, just off the top of my mind, biographies. I love biographies, about a person, and then the language they use is so you can relate it to yourself, and then it's the words I pick up from there or the way they express themselves. Do you agree, or is there a risk with biographies?
No, look, take the risk. Yeah, absolutely. And one day I'm going to write one.
I'd be one of your first ones to read it, because you've got a very interesting.
I'm going to have to sort of like tone down the language. Like my writing would be quite simple, I'm sure. And I was asked by 2 publishers in Australia to write my biography, but I said, not yet. My mum's still alive. She doesn't need to know everything. So I've told my mother that. I said, I'm waiting for you to die and then I'll write my biography. And she just goes, I'm not dying. I want to read it. I said, you know most of what I've done anyway.
Never thought of it that way. My mom's still alive.
Yeah, maybe I would change my name and a lot of names as well too. Okay, now also I would suggest that when you are reading, no matter what it is, and you see new vocabulary, new collocations, new linking words or expressions, look them up, as Saval said, learn how to use them, and jot them all down. So I'm a person that when I learn something, I have to write it down. I unfortunately do not have that privilege of being, a person that can learn just by looking at it. So I have to write. And then, sorry, Saval?
No, go for it. Sorry.
Oh. And then last up, create a topic bank of general interest. For example, about the environment. Look up lots of articles about the environment, look up words, look up synonyms, look up phrases, and put it all together. And do the same for the internet, families, diet and health, consumerism. Consumerism is a very popular topic. Consumerism means like consumers, we are consumers. We buy things and we use things, and that's consumerism. And we're using the planet, we use goods, we use people, we use everything. And young people, there's many, many other topics. And just do up different topic banks for yourself and include useful synonyms and phrases for each one. Okay. And that's it for me tonight.
Wonderful.
So I hope everyone's learnt something and enjoyed it.
I have. It's relieved me when I was speaking about my daughter out of context that I can use that in my writing. So if it's, for the viewers out there with family members or neighbours with them, I think it's a bonus.
Perfect. Can I just add one thing I forgot?
Sure.
Please have a look at part 1 and 2 of the academic writing, and you will learn a lot of points from that as well that we did the webinar about. Yeah. Not the third one so much, but the part 1 and 2.
They're all on Facebook video section, ladies and gentlemen. You can go back and get them from our account. So here's a quick 3 questions we have. Ipek has asked us, what's the maximum word limit? There's no maximum word limit, is there, Ross?
No, there's not. You've got the time limit. That's what's more important. You've got 1 hour to do two parts. Part 1, your letter writing, informal or formal, and then part 2, your essay. And they do advise that you break it up into 20 minutes for part 1 and 40 minutes for part 2. If you've got the time and the skills to write a 300-word essay that's going to be fantastic, do it. But if you don't, be careful of your time.
Yeah. And it also, I think, goes back to, if you're writing just 200 words, that's also fine. If you think you can convey your message in writing, respond to the task, and as all the other areas that Roz has mentioned earlier on with the band descriptors, you can also hand in 200 words. So IELTS is quite fair and flexible in that area. Another question, Roz, one of our viewers, Sezi, good question. So on your previous slide, can we go back to your previous slide? The question is, both advantages and disadvantages, are they supposed to be written for this topic? So if the question came up in the part 2 for this test taker, you've just put down, so should they be arguing or should they be writing about the 2 views, advantages and disadvantages?
Yes, you should do, because it's actually asking you what are the advantages and disadvantages. That's your question, you know, so you must answer the question.
Okay, beautiful. Another question from Ellen. Should I balance my paragraphs? For example, if I believe the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, should I write 2 advantages paragraphs and 1 for disadvantage paragraph?
It's totally your choice. It's totally your choice. You know, the other way of doing it is to write 1 advantage, 1 disadvantage, what you believe, and then a conclusion. You know, some of your experience, like Sval was talking about her daughter and my experience, what I've seen in life. So you can do advantages, disadvantages, your experience, conclusion. Possible.
Awesome. Questions are coming in, Ross. So I'm going to speed up because we've done quite well at 7:50.
Wow.
Yeah. Can we use, from Dedan, can we use famous quotations or can we finish our essay with a question?
Rhetorical questions. If you've got the skills to use a rhetorical question well in an essay, by all means do it. It's no problems. If you don't have the correct skills to use rhetorical questions, leave them alone.
Okay. Or can we use a famous quote? Was the other part of the question?
Oh, look, I don't see any problem with using a famous quote, just as long as you've remembered it and use it correctly.
Thank you. And Mehmet, we have a question from Mehmet. When we clarify the supporting details to justify our position, is it possible to utilize some happenings which may not have occurred or will never exist in real life? Does it matter to write unrealistic examples down, even if they're not logical?
Look, when it's all said and done, if it's not logical, that's a bit iffy. You know, like they should be at least logical. But when it's all said and done, if it's logical, the main idea is that the marker is looking at the sentence structure, the grammar, all of these things. They're looking at that. They're not looking at whether it could be true or not in your life or your experience. They want to see your cohesion and your task response and lexical resource and your grammatical range and accuracy. If it's a bit iffy as far as logical, you really have to be careful though. Yeah. There.
I think that question was like, you know, if I didn't have it as part of my, you know, if it wasn't real life, can I make it up? In other words, you can make up a story.
Absolutely. Look, if you've got the imagination and the ability to do that, well done you.
Excellent. A question from Mireille. You said when writing an essay, pretend an idea, make a choice. Can you do more? Can you do more? Explain? Shouldn't I make my thoughts? Mireille, I hope I've. Hold on. Let me just reread the question. Sorry, I'm just reading it from my phone because I got it from the team. when you quoted, when you write an essay, pretend an idea, make a choice, or I think make up an idea is what Mira is trying to say.
Yep, and which is I just repeated then.
Okay. Shouldn't I make my thoughts? So I think, Mira, if we haven't asked your question correctly, please write it again. I think it's exactly what we're talking about. Can we just make up a story?
Of course, but I would, I really, think that it should be more logical, not illogical, not rubbish, not just total out of the air. I'm going to put that in. You've got to make it logical for the reader.
Yeah, and in all honesty, ladies and gentlemen, when Ros was presenting this, the advantages, disadvantages, I was reading it. I've never seen these slides, and I was thinking it as a parent. So it just came to me there and then. I think very important as well, when you get the task, the question, just take a minute or two and just absorb and see if you can relate to something in your life, because that's how it came about for me. I didn't even know the topic tonight. So
yeah, that's right. And like this slide that's up now, this is your plan. And you spend 5 or 6 minutes doing this, and then you're writing quickly because you've got everything you need to write about there. Mm-hmm.
So I've got one last question, but that's more center-based question, and help me if I'm not going to respond to it correctly. But how many minutes from Arjan, how many minutes on average does an examiner spend to score an essay? And are the papers evaluated by one person or consensus of a jury? So Arjan, what actually happens is, I can't respond to you of how many minutes it takes for an examiner to read through the parts, but I can tell you part 1 is marked by one examiner, part 2 is marked by a different examiner. And then those scores are being placed into the system. So there's no jury, it's 2 different eye sets that are looking at your writing. And I've mentioned this in our earlier sessions where your papers, your essays are actually scanned. So when they come back to the center, if you're taking paper-based tests, they're scanned and your names are all marked away and crossed off. And around the globe, like Canada, Australia, UK, there's marking hubs. So it works around the clock, 24 hours because of the time zones. So an examiner will get it up onto their screen, but they won't see your name. And that's to protect you, to protect the test taker, and they will mark it. And obviously they have their, moderation in marking as well. So they're not, failing or falling out with the scoring as well. So I can't tell you how many minutes. I don't know. Ros, do you know?
Look, no, I don't know exactly, but I would estimate from my experience, they're probably spending up to 10 minutes. Because they're reading, they're looking at the band descriptors, they're making sure that it's, to that band or to this band for each section.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And IELTS has changed a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Over, 10 years ago, one examiner used to mark both of the tasks. So, and I recall that back in our center, we used to have the examiners come in and mark both of them. And nowadays, with technology moving ahead quickly, it's been separated. One test of a candidate, the listening, 20 questions are by a different marker. The next 20 questions are different marker. Reading, first 20 questions, different marker. Second lot is a different marker. You've got the writing with 2 different examiners, speaking, and you've got the double marker for listening and double marker for reading. So you've got 9 people looking at one person's test.
It's extremely fair, isn't it? It's very fair.
And what it looks at is, you can't have any prejudice or any biasness involved. Simple. They cover your name, they cover your country. They don't even know it comes from Turkey.
Yeah.
So I think it's brilliant. But that's a bit of backhand. Very, very last question before we close up from Erdem. Do you agree or disagree in these questions? He's asked in Turkish, so I'm going to ask in English. Translate that in my head first. So I'm going to respond in Turkish. Erdem Bey, sorunuza agree disagree sorularınızı soruya bağlı. Eğer bu soru gibi derse ki agree yaptığın yönleri ve disagree yaptığın yönleri bahset derse ikisinden bahsetmek zorundasınız. Ya da soruda hangisine hani agree mi tutuyorsunuz, disagree mi, ona göre yönlenmeniz lazım. So I hope I've responded to Erdem's question there. He was just asking, do I need to take sides? And I said, depends on the question.
Yeah.
So Ros, if you can, while I close up the session, can you go back to the start of your PowerPoint so people can take photos?
I sure can.
Thanks very much for a brilliant session I had, because it really related to, the topic related to me for some reason, being a parent.
Do you want me to go right back? Sorry, Savelle, do you want me to go right back to the first one, or just this one?
Yeah, keep this one for 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'm going to do the close up anyway.
Yep.
So
sorry to interrupt.
That's fine. And the skills you've shown us here, we can use that in everyday life in all our essays. So I think that's a bonus here. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. What we have coming up is we've got to change, the topic for the next session with Ros. So now it's going to be held because we've got major cities still in lockdown. We've got 4-day lockdown. Next Monday will be our session, not the Sunday. We've got Monday, 18th of May, and the topic, drum roll, coming through. Thank you. Speaking, how to prepare for your speaking test is our topic coming up on Monday night, 7 p.m., same time. So I think that's really, it's one of the most popular topics that we've had was speaking. You did a live speaking test last time. So this time I think you've got great pointers coming through. I won't give away anything. So speaking, that's next Monday, 18th of May. Before that, on the 16th of May, which is the Saturday, because we're locked down, and Ros, I found out for you, you're not in lockdown, sweetheart.
Oh, really? Yes.
Yeah, you've got freedom.
Yay.
So on our lockdown, everybody, Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, and the major cities in lockdown, Saturday at 6 p.m., we've got our IELTS Centre managers, leaders that will be conducting a Zoom session. And basically it's called question and answer session. Come along and ask us any question you like about IELTS, not about the examining or the learning or the marking side of things, but what happens in the background? How do you do the computer delivered? Can I copy and paste? Can I bring my own pencil for the paper base? So anything about the administering of the test, come Saturday at 6 p.m. You'll meet 3 of my wonderful team members, my colleagues, young, chirpy, very, very well knowledgeable. They're going to be here to respond to your questions. I won't be on, I'll be in the back end to support the background, to support them, Ros. So 16th of May, 6 p.m. Follow us on Instagram, idpielts.turkey, and you can go ahead and just register for them. We do have a special, sky's the limit. We've got 500 participants that can come through to us. So we're quite open with that. Bring your friends along, bring your neighbors. We're in lockdown. There's nothing better to do but to join our sessions. I find them quite amusing and fun. Is there anything else I missed out on at the moment? I think that's it.
From me, no. I think, yeah.
No?
I think that's it. Yep. So you've got your stuff. We've got the speaking on Monday night. It's at 7.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we're just going to keep going along from there and see how it goes, because as the days are going by, we've got Bayram. Or how do you say Bayram? Please say it.
Bayram.
Bayram.
I've got that Australian twang to it.
Bayram coming for the following weekend. So Shakir, just click on the Instagram link. That's there, Shakir. You've asked us how to join the next sessions. It's on Instagram. Like I said, bring along your friends. Thank you all very, very much. Have a wonderful evening. See you again on Monday night.
Thanks for joining us.
And Saturday night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Savelle.
Bye, Ros.
Thanks, team in the back.
Bye.
Bye.